Chapter 1: The New Home. The sprawling estate on the outskirts of Havenbrook exuded an aura of timeless elegance. The Jennings family, Richard, a stoic architect, Sarah, a nurturing homemaker, and their imaginative son, Ethan, moved in, drawn to the grandeur of the old house. Its ivy-covered walls and shadowy corners held an air of nostalgia, a sentiment that would soon be overshadowed by something far more sinister. Chapter 2: An Unseen Companion. Ethan, an inquisitive 8-year-old with a penchant for adventure, entered the house with a sense of awe. Yet, from the moment he crossed the threshold, he felt an unexplained tug at his senses, a faint whisper of a presence just beyond the realm of the living. His first encounter came as he explored the attic, an overlooked treasure trove of forgotten memories and dust-laden relics. It was then that Ethan met Lucas, a spectral boy of his own age, with translucent skin and eyes that held the weight of eternity. Lucas explained that he had been trapped within the walls for what seemed like an eternity, his existence bound by a mystic force. Only Ethan, with his pure heart and boundless imagination, could hear and see him. Chapter 3: An Otherworldly Connection. As weeks melted into months, Ethan's bond with Lucas grew stronger. They shared stories, explored the hidden nooks of the mansion, and played games that transcended the physical world. Lucas confided in Ethan about his life before the walls, how he had vanished without a trace decades ago. The yearning for companionship, for a friend who could see beyond the veil, was the origin of the whisper in the walls. Ethan's parents attributed his newfound solitary nature to the strangeness of a new environment. They noticed how he would become lost in conversations with thin air, crafting tales that seemed too detailed for a child's imagination. However, they chalked it up to his way of coping with the transition. Chapter 4: Haunting Signs. The walls of the Jennings home seemed to harbor a hidden energy, a pulsating undertone that occasionally manifested as chilling drafts, spectral reflections, and faint echoes of laughter. Richard and Sarah dismissed these occurrences as tricks of the light or figments of their imagination, never daring to admit that the barriers between the living and the departed might be thinner than they believed. Ethan's connection with Lucas had become a secret haven, a sanctuary from the growing tension between his parents. They wrestled with their own frustrations and anxieties, but Ethan's refuge in the company of the boy in the walls provided an outlet for him to escape the mounting stress. Chapter 5: Unveiling the Past. The unsettling occurrences within the house escalated, and Ethan's determination to uncover the truth strengthened. He began researching the mansion's history, poring over dusty records and faded photographs. His discoveries were chilling. The house had once been a haven for a well-to-do family, until their youngest son, Lucas, had vanished without a trace decades ago. Ethan's heart ached as he realized that the boy living in the walls was the very Lucas from the past, imprisoned by a force he couldn't comprehend. He understood that his spectral friend was seeking to break free, to find solace in the embrace of time itself. Chapter 6: A Sinister Entity. Ethan's dreams turned into windows into the past, glimpses of a time filled with heartache and loss. The Jennings family became entrapped in a web of nightmares, the echoes of a forgotten era weaving themselves into their subconscious. While Richard and Sarah dismissed these disturbances as mere coincidences, they couldn't ignore the toll it was taking on their family. In one particularly vivid nightmare, Ethan saw a shadowy figure trapping Lucas within the very walls that held him captive. The intensity of the vision shook him to his core, and he found himself consulting Lucas for guidance. The spectral boy confirmed Ethan's suspicions. A malevolent entity was tethering Lucas to the house, feeding off his anguish and despair. Chapter 7: Battle of Light and Darkness. Ethan's determination to free Lucas led him down the labyrinthine passages hidden within the walls of the mansion. Armed with the knowledge he had painstakingly gathered and bolstered by the unbreakable bond he shared with Lucas, he ventured deeper into the realm where the living and the ethereal converged. As he delved into the heart of the house's mysteries, the very walls seemed to breathe, each whispering a tale of sorrow and a plea for release. Ethan encountered spectral guardians, apparitions that guarded the malevolent entity. The battle that ensued was one of courage against fear, of light against darkness. In a moment of clarity and determination, Ethan faced the sinister figure, channeling the energy of his bond with Lucas. The walls seemed to tremble, an echo of the struggle that unfolded within them. It was a clash of energies, a confrontation between a spectral force that sought to retain its grip and a boy's indomitable spirit. And in the final burst of energy, the malevolent entity was consumed by the very darkness it had nurtured for decades. Chapter 8: The Liberation. With the malevolent entity banished, the energy that had kept the house captive for so long dissipated. The mansion's atmosphere shifted from one of foreboding to a sense of serene calm. The walls that had whispered secrets now stood silent, the drafts that had chilled the air ceased, and the echoes of footsteps from a bygone era were replaced by the tranquility of the present. Lucas, finally free from his spectral prison, offered Ethan a melancholic smile. Their bond, forged in the crucible of fear and bravery, had proven that the boundaries between life and death were not insurmountable. Days turned into years, and the Jennings family moved on from the mansion, leaving behind the chapter of their lives that they could never fully explain. As the house stood there, its history woven with layers of sorrow and redemption, the tales of the boy in the walls became whispers that carried through the corridors, a reminder that friendship and courage could conquer even the darkest of mysteries.